What is going on, good people? Welcome into the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, and I mean always, and Justin means always, and Casey means always, and DJ, that's me, means always, an Instant Classic. We back. We
Sir,
back and
sir,
better than
sir,
I
who
can't
is this,
say.
Casey? My
I
name
forgot.
is Big
Chase.
Old Dixon Cox. My name is Dixon Cox, and you will refer to me as
You
such.
should. I think you should change your name from Ciara O'Malley to that. Honestly, good old
That I
Dixon.
did. I am.
I think.
I'm changing my
I
name.
think
My
you
whole
should.
gimmick is gonna
He has
be
a new
Dix.
character,
It's gonna be Dixon Cox.
This is
and
coming
And
then
if
and
from
you
you
the.
come
wanna,
out, you come
if
shaped
you
out.
wanna get your hands on Dixon Cox, you got to go through my guys. You got to go through my team if you want to get to Dixon Cox.
See, and this is why. This is like Casey is 85 reasons why we can't have nice things. Like
And do
literally.
you come shaped? You come like in a costume as that, as your character.
I don't know what you're talking about. My name is Dixon Cox. What do you?
And all two of our loyal fans have gone ahead and clicked on off for this one. But we got a jam-packed show. Uh we gonna talk about all kinds of things in this full show. If you are listening to the full show, if you got the whole thing, that means you're listening on the audio platforms. Everywhere else, they get bits and pieces. They get it in parts, but the audio platforms are the lucky ones. They get Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of them. They get everything. We got. Let's hop into it. Where should we start? Let's start with the news we wanted to talk about last week, but we didn't get a chance to, and it was the big return of CM Punk at Survivor Series, which I was excited about. I didn't really expect. I'm gonna be honest. I expected it, but I didn't believe it was gonna happen. Right? That was my thing. I was like, I expected it to happen, but I didn't feel like it actually would. Like I didn't feel like it was actually going to happen. I felt like it was one of those things where I felt like there was some optimism going in. Like, okay, maybe, right? Like they're in Chicago, it makes sense. This would be the best place to do it. This is where he would get the biggest pop. It would be a big return at a big four pay-per-view that probably needs it anyway, because these big four pay-per-views haven't felt as special outside of Mania. Probably, Mania and Rumble, the other two have felt kind of but it was nice to see, man, that how big of a pop he ended up getting. Like it was funny. I talked to Justin afterwards, like a couple days later, and I was just like, that was. I
Y-
think it was actually the next day. I was
Yeah,
like
you
that.
told me that next day.
Yeah, I was like that is probably one of the best wrestling highs I've had in quite some time.
I
When it
agree.
felt like at the end of the show, I was like excited, didn't want to go to bed. Like I was like, this is amazing. This is what watching wrestling live. This is why I watch wrestling live. This is why I push through these shows sometimes. This is why I'm like, I gotta. This is why there's a couple of shows here and there where you're like, you gotta watch those shows. And I feel like Survivor Series was one of them, just for the anticipation of it. And they did a good job of keeping it a secret. They did a good job of not letting the dirt sheets get to it, and not announcing it. Right, like we've
Yeah,
seen over the past couple years that announcing it has been the biggest kind of wall in the middle of surprises, right? Because everybody wants to announce it so they can get the ratings, as opposed to letting people anticipate that it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, cool. If it does happen, even better. And I think this was one of those moments where it was like it wasn't announced, it was a surprise, and it was exciting to see because of that.
hmm
Um, Justin, you want to chime in, because I know you were there. You were actually there, and you got a chance to kind of hear what people were saying beforehand. You got a chance to hear what people were saying throughout, how loud the chants were, and all that while you were there. What was it like?
I mean, the atmosphere in that place, like, I mean, the Allstate Arena is like, it's pretty historical arena. And during the day, I was asking people like, "Oh, you think Punk is going to be showing up?" Like it was kind of split 50-50. People going like, "Yeah, they think he was going to show up. Yeah, they think he wasn't going to show up." So, and people go like, "Oh yeah, I spotted CM Punk like at a Target." I mean, he's from Chicago. What do you expect? Oh, I seen him at a Blackhawks game. I mean, what do you expect? He's from Chicago, Illinois. You probably see him around and stuff at these places. But on my hand, I didn't expect CM Punk to be showing up. And it was kept a surprise. Like it was like apparently, the people in the match they didn't know that he was showing up. Like it was just a few minutes before that he was showing up at the show.
I'm curious too, because your boy Seth and Casey, feel free to chime in whenever you want, because I'm going to ask you about it too. But I was curious, kind of what the feel was like in the arena also. But it was interesting because we heard some rumors about Seth Rollins, right? We heard some rumors about him being upset, about guys backstage being upset, for reasons we've heard time and time again, even leading up to this signing. There was all these reports of blah blah blah's upset. This person's upset. This person doesn't like Punk or whatever. But yeah, Casey.
And again, I was listening to Cornette after it, and I know people are so split with Cornette, but he was making a good point. Why? Like, what is the point of, or why would Seth be that angry?
Yeah.
About Punk. They as far as WWE, they don't have any history. Yes, when he was being interviewed, it wasn't even a WWE thing, but when he was being interviewed about and asked about CM Punk, he did the whole Philly Phil thing, but he was in gimmick, right? He was in character. So obviously that he was setting up, potential groundwork for if anything ever were to happen, if Punk ever came back. We didn't know, but he was just saying, groundwork for possibly, you know what I mean? But it doesn't make sense that he would be shoot like that mad that Punk, showed up. And especially that he would take it that far, especially, because Seth is like a company guy, you know what I mean? He's gonna, toe that line. He's not gonna do anything unprofessional. It almost felt like they told him to, be over the top, just in case, because obviously people are gonna have their cell phones out. But to get people talking about, that's really pissed, blah blah blah, this is all just to build up to either Rumble or most likely WrestleMania. I guarantee it.
It's funny, Casey, you say that, because I said the same thing. I'm like, whether there's real heat, whether there's not, this is a big Mania match in the making, right? Because
like
obviously,
when Punk was in AEW, when they had the whole, CM Punk, elite type of situation, like, they could have made some, big money off of that. They got some big ratings off of that, but they never, they never did that. So maybe, like with the whole CM Punk and Seth Rollins, they can use this, if this is a shoot, or if this, this is like real heat, stuff going on. This is a great, great thing.
Also, the other thing was like that there were rumors that Drew was so
pissed.
mad,
Yeah,
he stormed out, grabbed his bag and his hoodie and stormed out. Again, why? They don't. As far as we know, they don't have any history.
Now I feel like I kind of get Drew's frustration. I feel like that could be a real thing, because I don't think he's re-signed his contract yet.
Okay, well, I could see him being frustrated with the company, but I don't think it was anything to do with Punk.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with Punk, but I feel like Drew's frustration is a real thing. I don't think it has to do with Punk though.
Yeah,
I think I feel like he's on his way out the door. Because I mean, it doesn't even show him on the poster of the Rumble, which they love to throw a whole bunch of people on that poster of the Rumble. But who knows? Maybe Drew did resign. I don't know. Maybe I hope he doesn't end up going to AEW. I hope he goes elsewhere.
Well, it was funny because I felt like, especially when I started hearing about there's heat and this, that, and the third. Number one, you're trying to get your clicks up, and I understand that, but at the same time, it's like it sets up, like I was telling Justin before, I was like, there's so many Mania matches with Punk involved in them that have a lot of cool stories behind it. You got Roman's historic reign versus the guy who had probably the last historic reign, at least at that at that high of a
At that
level.
time, yeah.
Yeah. And then with Rollins, you know, it's something that we haven't seen in WWE before. You know, and you know, it's kind of one of those things where you can't really go wrong with either. I personally like the whole finish the story thing with Cody and Roman. Let that happen, and then let Rollins and Punk tear the house down with their match.
See, if I
At
was
Mania.
booking, if I was booking WWE, I would say I would have Punk win the Rumble, okay,
Mhm.
and say maybe like it's Punk and Cody, you know, they're like one of like the last four people in the Rumble. So I'll have Punk win the Rumble, and then Cody, you know, he could still figure out his way to face Roman. You know, maybe do like they're doing like a qualification elimination chamber match.
Yeah.
So maybe he ends up, Cody ends up winning the chamber, ends his way getting back to Roman Reigns that way.
Or what if you have, you know, I think another thing too is that you could have is what if you have Punk win the Rumble and then have Cody kind of be screwed out of winning the Rumble, not necessarily by Punk, but maybe by the Bloodline or something like that, and that, or maybe Roman himself, right? Like he has Cody's. You know, the hope is, you know, they could even go with the heel route of Roman doesn't want to face Cody at Mania, so he got him eliminated from the Royal Rumble to take the choice out of his hands, and then that becomes the story within itself. Not only the finishing the story from before, but at the same time, it's like, you know, oh, you want to use your heel tactics to get the opponent you want. Well, I'm going to give you exactly what you want, type situation. I can see that.
Well, and but not that I wouldn't want to see Punk win the Rumble, but I don't think he needs it. I don't think he needs to win. He is already massively over, and just the fact that he is back in WWE is bigger than the Rumble, bigger than Mania. He doesn't need to win. He's already going to go to Mania and, you know, challenge for that title and most likely win it. He doesn't need to. I would give that to Cody, you know, or somebody who it could help push. I really don't think Punk needs to win the Rumble.
Yeah, I could see that too. I could see, you know, the thing is, because they can always go with Seth being the fighting champion, and that's how Punk ends up getting in the picture, right? Like, you know, you think you're the best in the world, I'm the best in the world type situation or whatever. I mean, there's several ways they can go with it, and I think seeing those guys go at it promo wise and in the ring, it would be worth every penny. And it's interesting because for me, I've always felt this way, and I don't know about you guys, we haven't really talked about Punk leaving AEW or Punk being fired from AEW. We haven't talked about it that much, and that'll segue into a whole nother topic. But before that, for me, it's like there's so much money to be made with any of this stuff. There's so much money to be made with a Punk Roman match. There's so much money to be made with a Punk Rollins match. And that's kind of the thing that I feel like AEW is missing, or I feel like that's kind of that was the issue with the lack of grown-ups in the room, for lack of a better term, is I feel like AEW not only lost a lot of money when it came to losing Punk in the selfish ways that they did, but they also lost a lot of money by not having Punk versus Omega and letting that feud just be an organic feud that built itself. Like, put your big boy pants on, put your big boy britches on, put your big boy underwear on, whatever you want to say, and go out here and make the money that AEW wants to make. That's the thing that confuses me sometimes about wrestling companies, especially, you know, as far as AEW with the whole Punk situation, because this has been a couple of times now, is like, number one, where's the security to help out any of this stuff, right? Like any sort of issues between the guys, where, like, is there any adult in the room sitting down and saying, you know what, we're gonna talk this out because there's money to be made here, and everybody would love to see it.
And I like that point you made, you know, about, you know, having like, you know, grown-ups in the room. You know, WWE is more organized. So if there is real heat going like with CM Punk and Seth Rollins, I feel like they will be, you know, going down, you know, sitting down and talking about it,
Yeah,
rather than, you know, putting it out on live TV.
the thing about the difference between WWE and AEW, WWE, the guys in WWE are mature enough to, okay, we may not like each other, we may have issues, but we're doing our fucking job. You know what I
Mhm.
Yeah.
mean? We're going into this. We don't have to like each other outside. We don't have to, go out after the show. We don't have to hang out. Let's do our job. Let's make money, and that's it. And the thing with AEW that, first of all, again, they fire the guy, that the bigger star, and the guy that initiated all this, gets a slap on the wrist. But then that ended up probably costing AEW millions of dollars, because the guy that you fired just went to the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
He went to bigger and better, and now you're kicking yourself because rather than firing Jungle Boy for first of all not listening to anybody, because that's what started the whole thing. He didn't want to listen to agents. He didn't want to listen to management, anything like that. He was the one who got a slap on the wrist. So rather than firing him, you basically are losing millions of dollars. It's ridiculous. It's
And I also see what Punk was trying to do, like how he was trying to be the the locker room leader, because like
they
I
need that.
mean, yeah, I understand they do need that, but like he was trying to be that locker room leader, basically saying, "Hey, you shouldn't do that glass spot, with the on the hood," and and also Jungle Boy should have never said, real, what do you say, real glass, cry out or something,
Crimea
Well,
River, yeah.
or Crimea River or something like that.
the thing about it is, like, I don't even think Punk wanted to necessarily be the locker room leader. Like, he
Hmm.
didn't want to have to be the dad. He didn't want to have to be the adult in the situation, making sure everyone, does what they're supposed to do. But, he was friends with the management. He was friends with I forgot exactly who came to him and asked him to talk to Jungle Boy, but it was one of the agents that he's been friends with for years.
It's
So
like Jerry Lynn or something.
something
Or
like
somebody like
that.
that. Yeah.
But
I believe you're
he
right.
was doing it to help a friend. He wasn't doing it because, oh, I want to be the locker room leader. He's been in the business long enough. He doesn't want to deal with that bullshit. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to have to deal with the children. And he shouldn't have to. But with that said, they do need a locker room leader, and they don't have that.
Yeah.
And also Punk, he was in that same position, like you probably, 10 years ago, where he, was trying to make a name for himself, where he was trying to get himself over. And how those guys, Jungle Boy and the Young Bucks and Omega, those guys got themselves over. He didn't want to take advice. Those guys didn't want to take advice from Punk, and same thing like 10 years ago. Punk didn't want to take advice from other people. So now with him going back to WWE, he could be more of a locker room leader where people will actually take his advice and
Yeah.
actually listen to him.
And I think too that probably brings in an even bigger discussion that we can get into in the second part of this show, which they'll probably bleed together, I'm sure, with the Hardys as well. What was you about to say, Casey?
Quick sidebar, because that thought made me think of another article that I had seen, and I think Adam and I had talked about it. Adam, the guy that used to be on the podcast, and then he started working more and he abandoned us.
Do.
I hope he sees this. No, but Arn Anderson was saying after he left AEW, Arn and somebody else said it as well. One of the other legends that were there said that not one time in the entire time that Arn Anderson was a part of the AEW roster did any of the roster ask him for advice or approach him for any sort of questions, anything like that, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely blows my mind. Me, for example, if I have any sort of name in a locker room on a show that I'm working on, I'm gonna try to at least ask them something, whether it's about a promo, whether it's about can you watch my match, can you something to learn. But the fact that he was there for, I think he was there for 2 years or something like that, and nobody asked him anything. I think it was him and Tully. No one asked them. You have two of the four horsemen, two of the best to ever do it, and you didn't. Nobody asked them. That just shows the. I don't know if it's, I don't know if I want to say immaturity of the AEW roster, but like
Mhm.
I still can't believe that.